In the heart of the ancient forest, where sunlight pierced through the emerald leaves only in shimmering patches, lay the Valley of 1,000 Croaks. It was a place wrapped in mist and mystery, home to giant frogs. They were not ordinary toads. As large as small boulders, with eyes resembling amber moons, they were the wise and calm rulers of their marshy realm. Their skin shimmered with shades of moss, earth, and river gems. Their lives flowed slowly, marked by quiet croaking and long meditations upon colossal water lilies. At the heart of the valley, and the source of its magic, was the moon lily, a giant flower growing in the center of the main lake. Its petals glowed with a soft silver light, nourishing the plants, purifying the waters, and granting the frogs longevity. A young frog named Quasar was the first to notice that something was wrong. He was more curious than his kin, his amber eyes always searching for something new. He saw how the silver glow of the moon lily had grown dim, as though veiled in ash. The lake's waters had lost their crystal clarity, and the quiet croaking of the elder frogs had turned uneasy. The elders gathered for a council. The oldest among them, the wise Croak, his skin wrinkled like the bark of a millennia-old oak, spoke in a rasping voice. The lily's energy is weakening. Legends say it is nourished by the source of life, which springs from the peak of Weeping Mountain. Someone or something has blocked its flow. A heavy silence of fear descended upon the valley. Weeping Mountain was a perilous place. Its cliffs steep and slick with endless waterfalls, and predatory birds hunted anything that moved. None of the frogs alive had ever dared to climb so high. But in Quasar's heart, determination began to take root. He could not simply sit and watch as his home withered. "I will go," he croaked, and though his voice was young, it rang with surprising firmness. "I will find the source and bring the light back to our valley." The journey began. Quasar leapt over fallen trees the size of towers and pushed his way through thickets of giant ferns. His first trial was a river with a swift current, carrying sharp stones along its flow. Using the power of his strong hind legs, Quasar made a mighty leap and landed on the opposite bank, barely escaping the torrent. The path then led to the foot of Weeping Mountain. The cliffs were nearly vertical, their surfaces slick with moss and the constant dampness streaming down from above, as though the mountain truly wept. The climb was exhausting. Quasar clung to every ledge with his webbed hands, his muscles straining to their limit. Once, he nearly slipped when a stone slid out from beneath his grip. He hung above the abyss, holding on with only the strength of his forelimbs. Looking down toward his distant home, he remembered the fading lily, and within himself he found new strength. At last, after the exhausting climb, he reached the summit. Before him lay a small cave, from which the source of life was meant to flow. But instead of a powerful stream, only a thin trickle of water seeped out. The cave's entrance was blocked by a massive boulder, entangled in the thick roots of an ancient tree that had fallen during a recent storm. Quasar understood the problem. He pressed his shoulder against the stone, strained every muscle, and tried to push it aside. The boulder did not budge. The young frog tried again and again, his breath growing heavy, his heart pounding fiercely. It seemed the task was impossible. In despair, he sat down and lowered his head. Suddenly, he heard a faint rustle. Beside him sat a small lizard, its scales shimmering with all the colors of the rainbow. "You cannot do this alone," it hissed. "But strength is not always in size. Look at the roots. They hold the stone, yet they are also its weakness." Quasar looked more closely. He saw that one thick root had wedged itself beneath the boulder, like a lever. If it were broken, the stone might lose its support. Gathering the last of his strength, Quasar no longer pushed against the rock, but instead hurled himself at the root with all his might. A loud crack split the air. The boulder trembled. Quasar pressed against it once more, and this time slowly, inch by inch, the stone began to shift, until, with a thunderous rumble, it rolled aside. From the cave burst a powerful stream of crystal-clear water, glowing with the same silver light as the moon lily. The source of life was free once more. The water rushed down the slopes of the mountain, nourishing every root and every blade of grass along its path. Exhausted but overjoyed, Quasar began his descent. His steps felt much lighter now, for beside him danced a merry, shining brook. When he returned to the valley, he was greeted by an incredible sight. The moon lily shone brighter than ever before, its radiance nearly blinding. The lake's waters had become clear again, and the air rang with the joyful, thunderous croaking of hundreds of frogs. They welcomed him as a hero. The old croak approached and bowed his head. "You have not only restored the light to us, Quasar. You have reminded us that even in our peaceful world, there is room for courage, and that even the youngest among us can change the fate of all. That evening, the celebration lasted until sunrise, and Quasar, gazing at the radiant light of the lily, understood that his greatest adventure had not been on the cliffs of Weeping Mountain, but in the moment he had dared to take the first step.